Hi, I'm Amanda Capito, and I'm here in front of the main staircase at the Legislative Assembly of Ontario as we prepare for an event that is the first of its kind, the Speaker Series, featuring Speaker Donna Skelly in conversation with former Premier Dalton McGuinty. We are going to be serving you up some key moments from this fireside chat that I am certain you'll enjoy. Let's get right to it.
Now, you left office in 2013, obviously busy writing 2 books, but what else have you been up to?
I think the first thing I should say, Donna, when you get out, you got to get to know yourself again. I thought I'd had the tremendous good fortune to be able to serve as Premier for 10 years, and you start to kind of think of yourself as the Premier. You're not the Premier. That's a responsibility, that's an office, but you are separate from that. So I thought one of the best things that I could do would be to get the heck out of Dodge completely, which I did. I went to the US, went to Harvard, did a fellowship there, where I was completely unknown. And Terry and I got an apartment above a used furniture store. We got a bus pass and backpacks. And we were married in university and proceeded to have 4 kids in 5 years. So when we went back to school, we were actually kind of revisiting our youth and getting to know ourselves. Our lives have been so busy, and for me to get to know myself as well. So since then, I've been doing a number of different things, serving on different boards. Right now, I chair the University of Ottawa Heart Institute. And the other major project that I'm working on is something called a service year, which is essentially a gap year for young people that invites them to provide a year of community service for a stipend and maybe a couple of years of tuition. So it's to introduce them to their agency and to introduce them to the joy of service, something hopefully that they will retain throughout their lives.
You really did withdraw from public life, which is unusual. I was still in the media at the time, and I remember you were not around, and so many public figures leave, and they continue in some form of a public position. But you walked away.
Right.
You really did, and that was intentional.
Yeah, very much so. I felt what I owed my successor was to vacate the stage and then not weigh in on any of the issues of the day. And, I like to say, Don, I served for 23 years as a member of provincial parliament and 17 years as leader of my party and 10 years as premier. So wherever I went in Ontario, people loved me. They really loved me. I'll tell you one story. I can recall, and forgive me for those who've heard this before, but I was up north, you're from the north,
Yes.
So near Kapuskasing. And I was canoeing with 3 of my 3 sons. And we were walking back to our camp late at night, and we're suddenly confronted by the local self-appointed sheriff, who proceeded to cross-examine me with vigor and enthusiasm. And it went like this: "Where are you guys from?" "Well, we're from Ottawa." "What are you doing up here?" "We're on a fishing trip." "Where are you going?" "We're just going up to our camp. It's just down the road." And he says, "Wait a minute, has anybody ever told you? You look an awful lot like Dalton McGuinty."
That was a great anecdote, but we were also keen to hear about his time in this building.
You had a remarkable political career. You entered politics following a very tragic sudden death of your father. He was young, he was only 61. And you were a premier for 10 years, and you never lost an election. Tell me about your favorite, most memorable time over that entire period.
Donna, one of the things that I confronted regularly and that you confront as a legislator and everybody else here who's a provincial public representative does, you got to deal with cynicism. People will say, I've seen it all, heard it all, there's nothing new under the sun. You can't impress me, Donna, and you sure as hell can't inspire me. Here's what I learned about people. people layer on a thin veneer of cynicism to protect themselves against life's inevitable disappointments. Life's going to disappoint us. Somewhere, somehow, along the way, we're going to bear a loss of some kind and we're going to be disappointed. But beneath that thin veneer of cynicism, I choose to think, is a primal yearning on the part of people. They understand deep down, life is pretty short, and when you're dead for a pretty long time. And what people want to know is that they did something of enduring value. Yeah, they're tired and frustrated and angry, and sometimes they feel they're up against it, and no matter how hard they work, they can't get ahead. But deep down, they'd like to know they did something of enduring value. And I think our responsibility as legislators is to find a way to connect with that. And if I might, I'll tell you a story somebody told me a long time ago. There was a young man in a village, and he was out of sorts, and he went to see the wisest person in the village, an elder, a woman. And he says to her, "I got a problem." She says, "Talk to me." He says, "Some days, my family and friends, I love them so much, there's not enough I can do for them. On other days, they tick me off so much, I want to cause them pain. What's wrong with me?" She says, "Well, inside you, there are these two dogs. One's a kind dog and one's a mean dog, and they're fighting." And the young man says, "So which dog is going to win?" And she says, "That depends on which dog you decide to feed." The moral of the story is, those two dogs are inside each and every one of us, and we struggle every day to be the best version of ourselves. But we have a higher responsibility in office to decide which dog we're going to appeal to among our constituents, right? So I think that the perspective you bring, the belief you have in people, is a powerful shaper of how you interact with the opposition and with your constituents.
That feeding the dogs anecdote really struck a chord with the audience, almost as much as his answer to this last question.
Watching what happens now in the legislature, watching how politics has evolved since you've left, what nugget of wisdom would you share with us this evening?
Well, the first thing I would say is thank you. Your reward will come in heaven. It won't come on earth. But I'm really grateful as somebody who had the opportunity to participate here. I'm so grateful for your commitment to democracy and for dealing with all the slings and arrows that you necessarily endure. I like to think that the question we keep trying to answer, and this is peculiar to Canada, is not what's in it for me. I like to think the question that we labor on every day is, what do we owe each other? And I was thinking, Donna, when the French and English settlers and the indigenous peoples came together in 1812 to defend an attack from south of the border, we were answering a question that was, what do we owe each other? When the French and English settlers did something which is, when you read through history, is completely outrageous. They said, you're going to keep your language, I'm going to keep my language. You're going to keep your religion, I'm going to keep my religion. You're going to keep your civil law, I'm going to keep my common law. And notwithstanding that, we're going to build a country together and we're going to find strength in differences. That is incredible, right? But and the question we were asking was, what do we owe each other? I just, maybe what I would urge you to keep at the front of your mind in political office is keep asking, what do we owe each other? Yeah, it's a tough game. It's a rough sport. And every once in a while, you're going to have to mix it up. but don't lose sight of you labor here, you beaver away in a magnificent enterprise powered by idealism that's over 2,000 years old. And you need to see yourself in that context. And you need to feel the sense of privilege it is for you to be participating in that enduring adventure. So thank you. Thank you.
That's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in to this inaugural Speaker Series session featuring Speaker Donna Skelly and former Premier Dalton McGuinty. As you can see, there is a buzz in the room behind me, and we look forward to continuing this series. For the Legislative Assembly of Ontario, I'm Amanda Capito.